John 14. Let not your hearts be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go, ye know, and the way ye know.
It's about time, man, because I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get the kingdom. I'm ready to live. I'm ready to breathe fresh air. I'm ready to have beautiful, pure women, okay? Not no strawberry harlots on this side. I'm ready to have children, man, you can vibe with, okay? Be around brothers. Be around the Lord himself, okay? I'm ready to go and visit places in the galaxy that we didn't know exist. All right, I'm ready to walk on sandy beaches, man, and explore the ocean floors. I'm ready to fly, okay? I'm ready to eat real food, okay? I'm ready to drive a chariot, man. All right, I'm ready to minister to the Lord and to be ministered to, man. Okay, I'm ready to worship Yahushua in its full entirety. Okay, I'm ready for it. We're ready, man. I'm ready to see angels and greet angels.
But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with God. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected the same, in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption to it, the redemption of our body. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah Bahasham, Makakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Makakodash, pushing to get up out and shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right. And what we're gonna get into, this morning, news and prophecy, dealing with all roads lead to the M.O.T.B and war. Okay, with the M.O.T.B being first, okay, and then this third world war that's gonna go nuclear. Okay. And as we see, all roads are lead to the M.O.T.B. All these nations, they are in agreement, when it comes to the agenda of a technocracy. Okay. But what we're seeing is their differences, okay, about this technocracy are playing out in war. Okay. So these things, all right, are joined to the hip. The prophecy of the M.O.T.B and the prophecy of war, where they're joined to the hip. Okay, we're gonna go into these things and what the devil, has done, throughout the earth is created mass, confusion. To people are confused to what's, going on. And there's so many moving parts. Okay, and there's so much, propaganda and psyops, dealing with the devil's media. Okay, they keep people off balance. Even those that become aware of particular things, well, they're still, they still have a lot of blind spots and a lot of darkness, man. The only people that's operating, in the true light, are the elect of Israel. Okay, and that's why when you go here, let's get this in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 12, and this is in the AMP. It says, once more, Yahweh Shai addressed the crowd. He said, I am the light of the world. He who follows me will not walk in darkness, or will have the light of life. Okay? So by following Yahweh, we've, been awakened to the truth. Okay? And as we're being taught of Yahweh and Yahweh, the volume of the book, so as we learn, all right, understanding, we constantly increase in understanding, we mature in the spirit, where we begin to operate in the light from a position of clarity. Okay? Because it's the truth of the Bible, the true doctrine, the understanding of the scriptures that's giving clarity to everything we see. And only the elect can look through the lenses of the scriptures and see everything clearly, to operate in the light. And we know the sacrifices Yahweh Shah made, okay, set it up for us to be part in these last days, to where we're not subjugated, to bending the knee to this beast system. No, we have a victory over the beast. Okay, which is going to lead to what? Immortality, man. Okay, deliverance. All right, and us being changed to immortals, man. And you go into this word light. Let's get this word light. Because most people operate from, all right, a belief system of darkness, man. They might know a thing or two here and there, but ultimately they're still in darkness, man. You see, it's only through the Holy Spirit, all right, which was preordained, to be given unto a remnant at these last days, so we can have clarity. You see, because confusion is on the uprise, man. It's on the uptick. Okay, Now you go into this word
Strong's G 5457. Phos.
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 Okay, phos. Now when you go into the main definition, okay, it says, metaphorically, it says the Most High is light because light has extremely delicate, right, subtile, pure. That's not the one. Yeah, here you go. It says, verse 2 says, section 2, it says, of the truth of his knowledge together with the spiritual purity associated with it. Okay, so we have, the knowledge. The scripture say, wisdom and knowledge shall be what the stability of that time. Okay, because we're finna see a lot of people bug out, because they don't understand, how far this thing is finna go. People are used to crisis and things getting back to normal, and that's the way, that the Lord is making people numb to prophecy, man, because He wants people sleep. He wants judgment to catch the masses on guard. Okay, and it says when you come down to the reason, the mind, it said the power of understanding, especially moral and spiritual truth. And how do we get understanding? Through precepts. Let's go there real quick. Let's go to the book of Psalms. All right. Because as the scriptures say, line upon line, all right, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Well, that's how we get understanding. You see, and even when you go into the book of Psalms, chapter 119, okay, because it's the precepts to shed light, okay, on this thing we call reality, man. It gives us clarity of the bigger picture. You see? Let's go to Psalms 119 and 104. It says, from your precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. Yeah, so it's the precepts that bring the understanding. It's the precepts, being taught line upon line, precept upon precept, that's giving the understanding and the light and the clarity. Okay? And with the, mixed with the, the Holy Spirit, the faith. You see? And as these teachings going forth, the brothers are teaching, beginning with apostles and elders, where there's nothing but clarity and light is being shown on the overall picture of what's happening. Okay, what the elites are doing. All right, what we at in prophecy. Okay, and overall, what's the Lord's agenda in the mix of all this, man? Because that's all right. That everything is happening within inside the will of the Lord. Okay, there's nothing just randomly happening. No, everything is happening within the Lord's will, and precepts give us this understanding. And that's why in these latter days, understanding the will of the Lord, man. The Lord is getting ready to end the rulership of all heathen. Okay, Esau is the last heathen to rule. Okay, so it's bigger than, because someone might stop a data center from getting built in their town, in their city, and they think that it's some type of victory. No, that's not the end game. Okay, because guess what? All these people that are stopping, that are protesting, and they're getting a few data centers, to not be built. Well, you're still going to be faced with the hour of temptation. And see, how do we know that? Through a precept. Okay, so you have people that might be aware and even might be resisting, but see, they're still in the dark. Okay, of the overall agenda of what's going to happen, man. And Esau makes sure that he pushes all this confusion and distractions, okay, to keep people, off balance, man. Because a confused society is easy to rule. Okay, but when you go to verse 105, Psalms 119 and 105, it says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Yeah. So these precepts are guiding us through these times, man. This understanding is guiding us through this time. We see where we're going. We see that we're going to have to completely detach from this society, man. This devil is going to make this technology mandatory, this M.O.T.B, the microchip. He's going to make it mandatory. We're going to have to completely separate from this society. You see, we know which step to take. You see, and it all goes back to having that light, man, following Yahweh Shai. You see, Yahweh Shai is leading us to chariots, man, to victory. You see, so let's go here. because let's get this in the book of Isaiah 24, getting KJV. All right. And go to Isaiah 24 and 10. It said the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. Yeah, because this place, is finna go into what you call anarchy, man. Okay, and American society is not ready for what's to come. You see, because we know that the elites, all right, the Lord's gonna put the spirit on the elites to drop the hammer on the American people, man. Okay, and confusion is going to increase. You see, you got people, with their faith in, the midterms. You're gonna start hearing more and more about the midterms as we get closer to, their time, as if that's going to be saving grace. No, the Lord has this place slated for destruction, and before it's obliterated by missiles, man, it's going to be great tribulation. It's going to be great starvation. Okay, pestilence, teeth of wild beasts. Okay, a lot of gun violence, man. You see, women being ravaged. See, that's what's coming. Okay, so said the city of confusion is broken down. Okay, and there's no one that's more confused about reality than Americans, man. There's no one that's more propagandized. Okay, and there's no one that's been hit with more, all right, psyops, psychological operation than the American public. Okay, to where down there everything you consume is a psyop, man. Damn near everything that you consume is some type of psyop, man, to keep you, all right, out balance, man. So you go into the word confusion in Isaiah 24 and 10, all right, it's Tahawa, all right, Tahawa. Now, when you go into it, it says formlessness, confusion, unreality, man. Okay? Most of your people, most of you Americans, your belief system is based on the unreality, man. Christianity, that's an unreality. Okay, Black Lives Matter, that's an unreality. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, that's an unreality. It don't matter. Emptiness, man. An empty culture. Okay, a culture of vanity, man. Okay, nothingness, empty space. You see? And this is the society of America, just a bunch of empty space. That's why everybody's an influencer talking about nothing. Okay, here it is. Your country is picking fights with all the nuclear powers of the world. All right, and a nigga just want to debate, who was the best cornerback in 2006. You see what who's going to win? Okay, who's going to the playoffs this year? That's a nigga, or some celebrity gossip, just a bunch of nothingness, man. Here it is. We're in the most serious times, okay, in existence. The second coming of Yahweh, nuclear war, okay. The M.O.T.B. Here it is. We're in the time of the most serious times in history, okay. And this is a society of nothingness, man, because of constant confusion and distraction, constant psyops, enchantments, and distractions, man. Okay, to people's mind are just a goddamn empty space, man. Just a bunch of nothingness, man. Okay, it was as a place of chaos. Okay, vanity. You see, and these things are done intentional, man. Because a confused society is easy to control. Okay, now I want to go from there. Let's play this video first. All right, and it kind of speaks to some of the points we've been making throughout these news and prophecy, dealing with what we see happening, with the M.O.T.B. and this war. Okay, but these prophecies are, like I say, they're joined at the hip. Okay, so let's play this. Let me go ahead and put this in the comment as well, in the chat. All right, let's play this real quick.
Elites believe in karmic law, and I think they play a lot of games on people to get people to voluntarily and in society you're kind of ultimately about at the end of the day. And so if there's a particular policy, for example, digital ID or things like that, that you're against, you have to ultimately commit to not participate in them, even if efforts are made to manipulate you into consenting to that.
That is the question most people never stop to ask. When billionaires feud online, when Silicon Valley splits into Team Musk and Team Gates, when every crisis gets packaged into a culture war, are we watching a real struggle for power? Or are we watching a show designed to keep ordinary people emotionally invested in battles they were never meant to win?
But that's just my opinion. And I think, maybe there are squabbles. I think there absolutely are some squabbles that are genuine. But I think ultimately it comes to squabbles over the spoils and not over the agenda. Who gets what, who gets power over this versus that, but not really about the agenda.
That line is the whole thesis. The fight may be real at the level of who gets what, but not at the level of where the system is going.
And that's what we've been saying, that these nations agree, because even Iran has digital ID for their citizens. Okay, but now it's a fight over who gets what. Okay, when we sit down and establish this new system, who is going to run what? Okay, you got these oligarchs in the back, these elite families amongst these nations, the elites of Esau, which is at the top, this banking family, which ultimately they the overlords, okay, of these nations, man. You see? So you have, this fighting over who's going to run what, who's going to, because America wants that straight, because if America would have got the Strait of Hormuz, they would have went to the table with all the leverage. Okay? So it's a scramble of who's going to get what within the system. You see, they all agree to this new system, technocracy. Russia is all on board. Russia, they got digital ID. Okay, we know China. They said China at the finish line. Okay, China just waiting, for everyone else to catch up. You see, India. Okay, and this is a major chunk of the world population. If you just throw China and India, that's a third of the world's population. And you throw Russia and Iran in the mix, man, it's, plus Africa, man, that's almost half the world's population. Okay, but these nations are on board. But what we're seeing the scuffle, for resources, a scuffle for energy, a scuffle for leverage in this new world order, man. And it's going to turn from scuffles to full-scale war. Okay, a full-scale global war. Okay, which is all linked in prophecy. So let's play a little more.
And once you see that distinction, the next question becomes much darker. If the agenda is shared, how do elites get the public to go along with it?
The elites at the top are always fighting. And I always wonder, is this an illusion? Like, are they actually all on the same team? Behind closed doors, is Bill Gates shaking hands with Elon Musk and they're saying, okay.
And they're referring to like Elon Musk and Bill Gates as being elites. Those are not really elites, because if we can see them, they really don't have no power. Okay, if we see them on TV every day, then they're just placed up there by the families that got the real power. Okay, so the Gates and Musk and Peter Thiel and Sam Altman, they're not elites. Okay, they're just the mascots. And they also play a part in getting people focused on all these different parts. But it's all one system. Bill Gates, Microsoft, Palantir, okay, Sam Altman, OpenAI, all of it is one system. And they get you focused on all these different characters, okay, as if it's different, like there's this major competition between, these certain billionaires, when ultimately it's all part of one system, man. Okay, and a lot of these billionaires are just propped up, you know, to be characters, man. You see, to keep narratives and distractions and confusions going. So let's play a little more.
Let's just pretend to have this feud. So, you have people in the streets that are shouting, I'm on team Elon Musk. And somebody else is like, no, I'm pro Bill Gates. And I'm wondering, I don't know if either of these guys are for both of you, but you're arguing for them. The ordinary people are on these teams. And I'm wondering, is this division an illusion?
Yeah, I think ultimately a lot of times it is because again, I don't think these Silicon Valley oligarchs really have as much power as people, you know, give them credit for. As I mentioned, why would someone like Jeffrey Epstein be so influential in the lives of so many of them? I mean, I would argue a lot of them are pretty effectively controlled by higher powers, and that um, I think once you get that level of money and influence, it becomes dependent on a lot of things. Considering that essentially the power structure in the world, as I laid out earlier, is sort of organized crime and intelligence sort of coming together. You have to play ball with those people if you want to become the richest billionaire in the world.
Whitney's first big claim is that the public overestimates the independence of celebrity billionaires. Her argument is not that Musk, Gates, Thiel, or Schmidt are powerless. It's that their power exists inside a larger structure, one shaped by intelligence networks, organized interest, financial leverage, and closed-door coordination.
So as an example, Eric Schmidt, I mentioned earlier, a big Democrat donor, Peter Thiel, a big sort of Republican, libertarian figure. They're both on the steering committee of Bilderberg together, the closed door sort of globalist conference where, top political leaders meet top corporate leaders and decide things in secret. AI has consistently been a big focus of that. Alex Karp of Palantir goes to pretty much every meeting, and it's essentially been divided. I think Newsweek said that it was essentially Bilderberg was essentially divided between factions of Schmidt and Thiel, but they come together and network and make decisions at those closed door meetings. So how much do they really disagree on? At the end of the day, they both seem to very much agree on pre-crime and an expansion of the surveillance state, and increased digital control over most people. Because if you look at their actions as CEOs and investors, that's what they have, essentially built.
That's not just rhetorical. The official Bilderberg Steering Committee page does, in fact, list Eric Schmidt, Peter Thiel, and Alex Karp. And The Guardian describes Bilderberg as a secretive annual summit where political leaders, military officials, tech billionaires, and major business figures meet behind closed doors. So even if people posture publicly as rivals, they may still share the same rooms, the same tables, and the same long-term priorities, which means the real battlefield may not be who wins the feud, it may be who controls what everyone else believes the feud means.
I think some of it is.
And see, you see the, these are Western, you see the Western, what they call celebrity billionaires. You don't see, the Russian oligarchs like that, the Chinese oligarchs like that, but they're there and there's tension. You see, there's tension of how this thing is going to be rolled out, what system works the best, So there's actual tension between, these there's actual tension, between the higher ups because the Lord said it will be divisions. If Satan divide against itself, how can it stand? And if the house we divide against itself, the house cannot stand but have an end. Okay. So a lot of these, what most people see when they think of billionaires, they think of Western billionaires, okay, and the super rich. You see, but you have those in all these different nations. You see, and they all have their interests, and we're starting to see their interests clash. Okay, they all have the shared vision of the end game, which is a technocracy. Okay, where you have a small elite amongst all these nations. They're going to be in a permanent, upper class, and everyone else is going to be permanently impoverished and dependent, on technology, depending on them. You see, so I play a little more, then we'll go on to something else. Let's get there. Proverbs. Let's get Proverbs 15, no, Proverbs 14 and verse 15. I believe that's it. Proverbs 14 and 15. Because you have, people get caught up, in all these different narratives. Even like the flock safety camera. They got this narrative with this Edomite, his house was broken in and he wasn't, the police department didn't give him due justice. So he came up with the flock security camera for the sake of public safety, man. All right, it's some BS, man. It's military technology that's going up, okay, with these flock cameras. You see, all these, Mark Zuckerberg, they all have these BS, stories, rags to riches stories, okay? What is all meant, to keep people confused and also keep people believing that capitalism, okay, which when you go into capitalism, not to get too far off topic, you got to have capital, all right, to thrive in it, man. Okay, and it's a system where if you don't have the capital already, you don't thrive. And what capital you do got, well, all right, the big, okay, the big corporations suck that from you, man. You see, so you got these rag to riches stories with these billionaires. It also paints the picture as if anyone, can make it to be an Elon Musk. You got millions of people, trying to come up with inventions and, technology to be the next Elon Musk, but it's all a sham. Okay, these people are planted, these billionaires are planted into society and giving these stories, man. Okay, to create confusion of the system that's being built right before you, man. The control grid is being built right before you, man. Okay, so yeah, that's Proverbs 14 and 15, Bob Shah. That's the point. So let's play a little more of this, and then we'll segue to another video.
Theater for us down here to keep us distracted, and have our attention be elsewhere and not on the things we can actually do to increase our own power, and distractions that get us to willingly and voluntarily outsource our power. I think the elites believe in karmic law, and I think they play a lot of games on people to get people to voluntarily do things they otherwise wouldn't do. And I think that's what a lot of the manipulations in media and in society are kind of ultimately about at the end of the day. And so if there's a particular policy, for example, digital ID or things like that, that you're against, you have to ultimately commit to not participate in them.
See, like I said, this chick Whitney Webb, she has insight. She goes in on, the elites. Okay, this system, how it's being ran. But see, that's what she's in the dark. Okay, because it ain't just as simple as resisting. No, they're gonna make it so hard out here. Okay, and then eventually they're gonna come with a mandate. That yeah, you're gonna take this under the threat of death. Okay, so just saying no, all right, is not the solution to what's coming. Not complying is not the solution. Okay, because it's written in prophecy for the devil to get to a certain point, and the Lord's gonna put this devil in the spirit to just steamroll, all right, this new world order to a certain point, man. Okay, and he's gonna catch a lot of bodies. It's gonna be a lot of slaughter on the way. Okay, and pretty soon the gloves are coming off because the devil is being pushed into a corner. You see, so after a while, the gloves gonna have to come off. Okay,
Even if efforts are made to manipulate you into consenting to that.
This is where the clip stops being about elite gossip and turns into a theory of control. Whitney's point is that modern manipulation doesn't always work by force first. It works by shaping consent, by making people feel that a policy they would normally resist is now necessary, moral, urgent, or inevitable.
And a lot of those efforts are based around fear about something. And it's very easy to manipulate how people perceive reality today. That same Schmidt-Kissinger book I've been referencing doesn't refer to AI as like a revolution in the sense of making people's lives easier and all of this stuff, but as really a revolution in perception, how people perceive reality. So ultimately, you could argue that the elites sort of view it as the ultimate perception management tool. And I think that's ultimately what it's about, because if you can control how people perceive, that translates into control over behavior at the end of the day.
And you go into the AI, like she said, it's a management tool of perception. Because just because AI can do particular things, they're able to make these predictions, and they know not true. They know that these things are not true. But if they make the prediction, well, by 2032, AI is going to replace so many jobs, where people start looking at that as reality, because they keep hearing the news about AI is taking this many jobs, AI is taking this many jobs, which it is replacing some jobs. Okay, but a lot of these jobs, come to find out, they're being outsourced to India and these Mongolia and these countries in the east. Okay, but they're saying on the Western media that AI is taking all the jobs. But a lot of these jobs are being shipped overseas. Okay, but what that does, it plays on the perception of people that damn AI is taking over. Okay, I say it is doing, it is replacing jobs, but the scale is being exaggerated, and that plays into the narrative that, look, you got to keep up. You humans gonna have to keep up. AI is doing 100-yard dash. You humans gonna have to keep up, and it's gonna make people feel that they have no option but to what, merge with this technology or be left behind. So he's using AI as a management tool of perception as well. Okay, they're always talking about artificial general AGI, ASI, and it's all because Esau is the biggest false prophet. Okay, when we go into there should be many, the book of when you go into the book of Matthew and speaks about there should be many false prophets. Well, there's no bigger false prophet than Esau. Okay, and what he's pushing, what his AI is going to be able to do, what it's going to do to humanity, humans will be useless by such and such time. He's throwing that narrative out there, okay, for the future, and then he's feeding you with these news feeds of this job loss. So now your perception of reality is changing, okay, which making you more susceptible to what, to bend the knee. Okay, and just as let's see, yeah, the brother got it. It's the brother servant of Yahweh, Proverbs 14:15. It says, the simple believe every word, but the prudent man looking well into his going. Okay, so we're in a situation to where a lot of people are simple as hell. Okay, because they're already confused, distracted. Okay, you see, so this devil comes with this narrative, dealing with this AI. All right, is that's the only way. And then see people look at it like that nigga Anton Daniels. What the nigga say? I'm not getting left behind. Okay, because this devil has changed people's perspective as if you can't exist without this technology. Okay, here it is. You have millions of people that live off their land. You got people that have family farms and live off the land. They don't need AI. They got the knowledge of the land. They know how to hunt. They know how to grow food. They know how to build. But Esau makes it seem like AI is essential to life. And without it, you see, you run the chance of becoming extinct. Okay, and that's the reality that he's put on the masses of people, man. That's the reality that they exist in. He said, I'm not getting left behind. You don't need AI to eat. You don't need AI to live. Okay, it's a tool that be helpful. If you brothers and sisters use it, and you got your job or business, whatever, use the word, not abuse it. But this devil pushes as if existence wouldn't make it without this technology, man, which is a lie. Okay, so he's putting it in the minds of people to look, this is your only option, man. I say like that nigga Anton Daniels, that simple nigga, man. I'm not getting left behind. Man, do you know how it feels to ride in a self-driving Tesla truck, man. Okay, simple. You see, so the simple believe in every word, but the prudent man looketh well into his going. And the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai has us prudent, in these days. Okay, so let's see, play a little more.
So if you can get people to alter their perception of a particular policy, like digital ID or programmable surveillable money, and you can manipulate their perception into going from thinking it's a bad thing to a necessary thing to fight, that some yet unforeseen evil or something, then you can get people to acquiesce and onboard themselves to it.
That is probably the most important passage in the entire clip. Not AI will do more tasks, not AI will save time, but AI as perception management. And that's not just some new internet phrase. Historically, the idea that power depends on shaping mass belief is deeply rooted. Britannica defines public relations as a field concerned with affecting public perceptions by focusing, curtailing, amplifying, or augmenting information conveyed to the public. So when Whitney says elites want to manage perception, she's describing an old power technique entering a much more technologically advanced phase. And that brings us to one of the central names she invokes, Edward Bernays.
Then you technically don't have to take them over at all. You don't need a single bullet. You've taken over their minds. So you just kind of remind me of that idea. It's a very powerful one. We'll have to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think this is something, though, that isn't exclusive to the former Soviet Union. I think it was something the U.S. was also doing in that same era, to Soviet satellite states, or in the Soviet Union itself. I think this is something that elites have been doing to people for a very long time. I think a very instructive video, our documentary into this, is Adam Curtis's Century of the Self, which talks about the work of Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, that simultaneously developed public relations for the corporate world and propaganda for the public sector.
According to Britannica, Edward Bernays was a pioneer of American public relations and is widely considered one of the first people to develop the idea of the professional PR counselor, someone who uses the social sciences to shape how an audience responds. Britannica also notes that Bernays edited a book titled The Engineering of Consent, which became one of his most quoted definitions of public relations. That phrase matters. Engineering consent. It means modern persuasion isn't just about telling people what to do. It's about arranging the emotional, social, and informational environment so people will think they decided it themselves.
Because ultimately,
and that goes into the inward, heart of the devil is deep. Okay, which it's a found a documentary on this guy. Well, would like to do a video, coming soon dealing with this guy, because he plays a major part, okay, in this crafted reality, okay, of Esau. A lot of American, society and cultural norms in America, this devil, all right, Edward, all right, Bernays played a major part, a major part in his system of, going into the psyche, dealing with the unconscious, okay, of the of the decision making process in people. He really tapped in, and that's going into the heart being deep. And then also, as you can see, all right, he's a German, okay, going into who? Teaming, the wise men of teaming. You see? Yeah, that was a Lord will. We could tap into that in another video, just dealing with this guy here. But yeah, let's go from there. All right, because now you have that going on. But check this out over here in Jerusalem. Because as Esau loves to paint the picture, that every civilization is in chaos. Okay, that's why he needs to come in and save the day. But because see, what's happening with the devil, a lot of things are backfiring. And that's what's going to make him be like a madman, sparing none, because this devil, I say, there's certain things that are backfiring in what he's trying to do. Now, the whole agenda with Iran, was to create civil unrest and get the government of Iran, get the people of Iran to overthrow the government. Okay, which they failed. And then they came in with the military All right, because it was what you call a blue collar revolution, you know, which where you get, you get operatives on the inside, to create, public, okay, resentment for the government. Okay, then you amplify, the protest. Okay, and then in that chaos, you come in with the military and do, a swift strike and topple the government. And it's worked dozens of times for America. America has done that dozens of times, especially in Central and South America. Okay, and then in other countries, throughout the world, there's worked, dozens of times. And they tried that tactic with Iran, but it failed. Not only did it fail, it began to backfire because now there's been constant civil unrest, all right, within Jerusalem, okay, within the state of Israel, these small hats. Okay, now you had this law that passed, and pretty much, they call it the Torah law, all right, because according to those laws over there, the Knesset, which none of these things are biblical. Okay, Knesset, all right, protests, none of these things are biblical for the true people being back in the land. Okay, the people protesting against the government. Okay, laws being passed to try to make a certain sect of society exempt from war. And here it is, these goddamn cowards, these small hats, they started all these wars, but now they're trying to pass laws within their own government to exempt what you call ultra orthodox, okay, Jewish people from being exempt for the military draft. Okay, and you got people going crazy about that, man. You see? So here it is, the small hats start all these wars in their region of the earth. Okay, but now they want to push laws that gives exemption to their population from going to war. From a certain part of their population from going to war, which means that the other part of the population, the more secular part, has to go to war. Okay, so you've been having uproars, man. So let's play this. All right, and these people, these Jewish people, do not got it, man.
Jerusalem is facing unrest on two fronts. Haredi protesters battled police in the streets, while lawmakers voted inside parliament. A new basic law elevating Torah study has reignited Israel's bitter military draft dispute. With tens of thousands of ultra-Orthodox men still exempt from service, the political storm is only growing. Jerusalem witnessed fresh unrest as Haredi protesters clashed with police and disrupted light rail construction. While inside Israel's parliament, lawmakers passed a controversial basic law elevating Torah study to constitutional status, reigniting the country's long-running dispute over military service exemptions. According to the Jerusalem Post, hundreds of Haredi protesters blocked roads, attempted to damage construction sites along Bar Ilan Street and near Zaks Junction, and disrupted work on Jerusalem's Green Line light rail project. Police declared the gathering an unlawful disturbance after demonstrators refused orders to disperse, deploying crowd control measures to reopen roads. Authorities also responded to reports of roadblocks and deliberately set fires near the protest sites. The demonstrations came after weeks of protests against the rail project, which passes through heavily ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods.
Here are 65 AI tools you have to know if you want to make a sale.
Yeah, I'll pass. Monday CRM lets you manage your entire sales cycle with AI capabilities that help your team move faster than ever. Reach out effortlessly to leads and set up automated sequences to stay on top of every follow-up. With AI meeting summaries, next steps, and risk alerts, you'll never miss an opportunity or lose a deal. Best part?
According to N12, repeated protests have caused more than 400 million shekels in damage to the unfinished Green Line since construction began 6 years ago. The unrest unfolded as the Knesset voted 63 to 52 to pass a deeply divisive basic law declaring Torah study a foundational value of the Jewish people and the State of Israel. The legislation grants Torah study quasi-constitutional status and is widely viewed as strengthening the political case for maintaining military exemptions for ultra-Orthodox yeshiva students. After the vote, United Torah Judaism lawmaker Moshe Gafni, one of the bill's sponsors, hailed the legislation.
Today, a historic step has been taken in the state of Israel.
And what that law does, just keep what you call ultra orthodox, okay, which these are the ones that's supposed to be deeply into, the Torah, which we know is all right, a sham, all right, and these small heads don't want to go to war, okay. So you had, they was protesting as they was voting on the bill. They was out there. You see the ones with the hats and the sideburns and, the stereotypical, okay, small hat. You see, all black, okay. So you have this dispute between them and the secular citizens that look, why are they exempt from war? We at war. You see, but this shows you the cowardness of Esau, man. Okay, so they're doubling down, and here it is. They drug America into this war, and the small hats they've been fighting for a week and some change now. The small hats haven't, shot a bullet towards Iran. Okay, well they drug America into the war. You see, and that's another thing. You people. Here it is. You're talking about voting for midterms. Wait a minute. The small hats control American policy, American foreign policy. Okay, not you voters, man. You see. So yeah, you have that. Just want to show you that, man, because also a lot of businesses have been shut down in the state of Israel because the shipping not coming out of the Red Sea, not coming in. A lot of shipping lanes have been closed between the Houthi rebels and Iran, dealing with the small hats, man. Because the small hats, they have a blackout on their media on what's really going on. So you really don't see it. Okay. But the small hats, they're in the uproar, man. Okay. The scripture said we will be in peace and dwell in safety, man, when we went back there. Matter of fact, it's just, if a brother can get there, I'm gonna cue up the video. I believe that's Jeremiah 30 and 10 barbershop. Okay, just a prophecy to show that those are not the people. Okay. Let's go here. Let's read. Let's go to this one. Just an update, on this current, war. All right, because they've gone into, full scale war. Iran and America there exchanging, strikes daily. Okay, and what's happening? Iran is destroying America's ability to project power in their region. America is losing a lot of assets every day. They're losing a lot of assets in their region. Okay, and there's no good news. There's no good news for American military, man, from here on out. Okay, they walked into that trap. You see, things gonna continue to escalate. More nations gonna get involved. And this is happening at the same time as the devil, is rolling out this new world order. It's happening at the same time. That's why I say these prophecies are joined at the hip. They both escalate together. As he gets closer to the M.O.T.B, the war is just going to intensify. Both of these prophecies, they escalate together, and it's going to be the war that's going to cancel out. This enterprise, man, because this war is a build up to Yahushua. Okay, so when you go to Jeremiah 30 and 10, there's a brother Yashima, tribe of Judah, said, "Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, said the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. Okay, and this hasn't happened yet. When did the Lord, okay, come back and deliver a remnant of his people? You see, and the scriptures say that he should come in clouds, which are the chariots, man. When did that happen? Okay, and then it's stated the condition we will be in, and this alone debunks those being the real people in their land. And Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Wait a minute. Those conditions don't exist over there, man. So that cannot be the fulfillment of the true people being in the land, because those conditions don't exist. Matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. Okay? Because you see them small heads, they terrified of Iran. They don't want to see a picture of Iran because they ain't did nothing. Okay? Then Netanyahu the other day, you know, he said, look, if Iran strike us, man, there'd be no more peace in the Middle East. He throwing out them wolf tickets, man. You know? Iran is fighting America, man. So why did he feel compelled to throw that threat out there, man? That nigga scared. Nigga scared. Okay? Which is the complete opposite of the state we would be in, the condition we would be in when we return, man. We're going to, like El Pastor Hart said, we're going to have overwhelming power. Okay? We're going to be in the wish a nigga would spirit forever. Eternally in that wish a nigga would spirit with that overwhelming power, man. Okay? Well, here it is. These niggas are, you know, protesting not to go to war. They're fighting each other not to go to war. Okay? They're not in rest or in quietness, man. Okay? The complete opposite. So let's play this. All right, this quick update. What's been happening
in the greatest armada in the history of Star Wars in a little over 2 months.
Law firm owner, if you feel like your team is dropping the ball, it's usually not an effort problem. It's a workflow problem. New matters get set up fast enough. Call no
by the strategic defeat, which is the result of the war that he ordered. So can you imagine in the mind of basically a grown-up 4-year-old, how does that feel? And you can see in his inconsistencies, in the the fits of the childish fits of rage. As you mentioned, no consistency whatsoever. Anything he writes, says, etc. Bragging, and of course, rage. You can feel there's so much rage behind it. He has threatened to exterminate Iranian civilization at least 4 or 5 times these past few weeks. Seriously, exterminate everything, literally.
and he threw a shot like Trump. You know, he made the statement, and he called Iran the Islamic Republic of Japan. You know, and the news made it seem like he made a mistake. You know, he misspoke. No, that was a threat, because what happened to Japan? You know, what did America do to Japan? Okay, they dropped atomic bombs. You see, so he's been, because Esau on the back foot, man. You see, so he's been, throwing little subtle threats out there. Okay, about nuclear, man, which we know, of course, we're nowhere near the nuclear phase of the war. Okay, but just as going to the talking points of the devil, you see, and Esau, because eventually is going to go there. Okay, because Esau, all his pride, Esau can't take, okay, this embarrassment like that. Proud nigga hates to be embarrassed, man. Okay, so we know eventually where these things are going to go, and that's going to backfire on his ass too. When he take it there. So let's play this.
And where is this leading? And everybody that has been trying, and everybody, I mean, literally everybody, not only the Pakistani mediators, but the Qataris, the Turks, the Egyptians, everybody, the Omanis, everybody who's been trying to, okay, we cannot allow the MOU to be derailed. This is the last chance salute. If this thing is derailed, then it's all out war. And here we are again in another escalation ladder provoked by him. And discarding the only possible mechanism that could give him a sort of a relatively dignified exit if he follows at least the basic points of the 14-point MOU. No, they broke almost everything. So the Iranians, they are looking at it and they said, what's the point? Okay, so we can, and this is now, the commitments now are bilateral. If they break it, we also break it. This is not unilateral anymore. So that's why there is this, it's practically a consensus among the top leadership in Tehran that there's no point in about the ceasefire has already been broken. The MOU is dead. That's it. We should exit and do our own thing. But this is not a final decision. And we are expecting some extra information between today and tomorrow. Exactly, let's say, how much longer the Iranians will tolerate American attacks. And this is a key, absolute key point, because publicly, they have already said via members of the Majlis, some members of the Security Council, if there is another American attack, we exit the NPT. And we all know what that means if that happens.
So the NPT is the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, which certain nations have signed on not to get nukes. Okay. So we know, and if Iran doesn't have them now, and them leaving it just make it official. Okay. But more than likely they got them now. Okay. They'd be a fool not to. I want to, let's see, get to the point where he's talking about what's been happening on with these strikes. Let's see.
Intermediaries, you should not publish this as a fact. This is being, and in fact, the whole fiction that the Americans have been trying to sell domestically to the whole world, which is about the Iranian nuclear program, collapses completely. Iran's nuclear bomb. They don't even need a nuclear put in a puppet government.
We prompt the customer to let us know exactly what they're looking for, and PIN takes care of it. It's
government, so something along the lines of Libya, Syria, but it's changed fundamentally. As you said, now it's about who can control this key waterway, the Strait of Hormuz, and it seems like there could be win-win situations if there was some diplomatic efforts to establish some kind of a administrative body. But it just seems to me, at least the impression I get from Iran these days, is that they don't think diplomacy is possible anymore, because as well, essentially they're 3 million people. Then they can do surprise that all these things which were violated, which was just national law, there's no rules, not with them the
sort of new accommodation. The problem is how they're going to deal with the Americans. For instance, the Pakistanis, they are involved in the mediation for several reasons, but one of them...
I thought it was that video. I thought it was on that video. I should listen to it again this morning, but it's one part of the video where he goes into all the assets, that Americans are losing, I thought it was in the beginning of the video. It's lucky for that. But let's go here real quick. I put the video, you can watch all of it, but it's in there where he talks about, and that nigga asked that long ass goddamn question. I thought that was in the beginning of that video. But let's go from there, all right? Because just to sum it up, America is losing, its ability to project power in their region, because Iran is destroying a lot of assets. It's getting to the point to where You know, they're having to they're having to move all their assets into the state of Israel because Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, okay, the UAE, you know, they're just getting pummeled. So they're losing all these assets every day to where now they're having to put assets, all right, in in uh in Israel, the state of Israel, okay, which they're just going to, and they're just making one big target for Iran. This shit, Esau losing, man. This shit is going bad for him, and it's gonna go from bad to worse. Okay, so let's play this real quick. Dealing with China, because China, like I say, this world war is going to be these major nations jumping into this war after a while, man. Okay, China is going to go from just assisting Iran with weapons and defense and uh, intelligence to being all in. Russia, they're going to be all in. You know, that's what's going to make it a world war. It's going to be wars fought on different fronts. Okay, what's happening in Ukraine, that plays a part into what we're seeing because there's more pressure on Putin to go into Europe. Okay, and to put more pressure on Europe. And all these nations gonna come to the conclusion like America is the reason for all this shit. Okay, and they're gonna take America off the map. You see? So let's play a little bit of this.
Hey everyone, it's Dina Calmetta here. And for today's news, I do have some updates I'd like to share with you. And please forgive me for not appearing on camera. I'm actually feeling a little bit under the weather, but I still wanted to bring you some news. And for today, I'd like to start with China because I'm getting some very concerning headlines. It's being reported that new satellite imagery analyzed by the Telegraph appears to show China constructing a detailed full-scale model of a U.S. Navy Arleigh Burke class destroyer at a missile testing range over there in their desert. Additional mock targets reportedly resemble military aircraft, naval facilities, and important sites in Taiwan. Now, analysts believe that these replicas may be used to improve China's ability to locate, track, and strike with their precision weapons. Now, the headlines that I'm getting is that China plans to bomb U.S. ships and China trains to target U.S. ships. But it goes on to report that this is significant because Arleigh Burke destroyers are among the U.S. Navy's most important air and missile defense ships and could play a central role in any U.S. response to an attack or blockade of Taiwan. China's strategy appears designed not only to overpower Taiwan's defenses, but also to prevent or punish U.S. forces attempting to intervene. So, in plain English, China's goal would be to keep American aircraft carriers, destroyers, and support ships far enough away that the U.S. could not effectively defend Taiwan. And with the United States already stretched across Europe and the Middle East, Beijing is undoubtedly watching how quickly American forces and weapons could be redirected to the Pacific. Now, to go with that, there's a report coming out.
And see, China is because see a lot of energy that China needs come out the Straits, and with American Navy, you know, attempting to do a blockade, they want to do a blockade on the oil going to China. Okay, so you have, you know, China preparing, you know, and practicing on destroying, all right, U.S. destroyer ships. Okay, because Taiwan, you know, which, you know, something could happen with Taiwan, but mainly, all right, the Strait of Hormuz is the, you know, the focal point. You see, and keeping that shipping lane open for China. Okay, so America, I mean, China is getting ready to, you know, they're preparing themselves. It might not be, you know, it might not even be this year. You see, but they're making preparations, man. Okay, to eventually they know because everybody, the Lord got on everybody's spirit. Look, this what got to be done. You see, these nations are preparing themselves for war with the horde. Okay, they're putting themselves in a race. Okay, brother, get that Jeremiah 50 and 9. You know, they're putting themselves in array, which is a battle formation. See, America is spread too thin. He can't defend all this, man. It's showing that he can't defend himself against Iran. They can't defend none of those Gulf Persian, no GCC nation, none of those allies. They can't defend that from Iran. They can't defend the small hats from Iran. Okay, was he going to defend Taiwan from China? Okay, you going to defend Europe from Russia? Hell no, man. So America is stretched way beyond its limitations, man. Okay, just because you have the mightiest military, the strongest military, that doesn't mean that you're unlimited. Okay, you got limitations, man. And this shows Esau is full of pride, believes his hype, his own hype, and you got yourself in a situation that he threw. You know, so we're witnessing the fall of empire, man. You see, and she goes on and go into some more news, but I want to get this. You can watch the rest of it. You know, goes into a little bit with Russia as well. Mhm. Yeah, and then America had to send their Coast Guard ships out there. Okay, and the Coast Guard is supposed to protect the coast of America. Your Coast Guard protect your coast. What the hell you doing? Why is American Coast Guard in the South China Sea? Okay, they never keep it at home. You see? Yep, Habakkuk 2. Brother want to post it, Habakkuk 2 verses 4 through 8. You know, you put that up there. You see? Let's go here real quick. So I just asked a quick Google question. I said, Rome's military spread too thin before its fall. Okay, so you go into the AI overview. It said Rome's expensive borders required massive military resources that ultimately became logistically unsustainable. And this is the same predicament, okay, that America is in. The brother want to get that Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. You know, in the NLT, Ecclesiastes 1 and 9 in the NLT. Okay, but America's in the position that it can't sustain, okay, because it can't sustain a head-up war with Iran. Okay, and Iran is the lesser of these other two nations, Russia and China. Okay, so when you go to this brother Serge of Yahushua 144, Jeremiah 50 and 9, it says, For lo, I will raise, all right, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. Okay, and array is battle formation, man. Okay, so you got Russia booting up to go into Europe. All right, you got China booting up to help, you know, Iran and possibly, you know, invade Taiwan. And even if they invaded Taiwan just to stretch out American military, okay, America loses, man. America is out there, man. America jumped in that trap. Okay, the small hats threw America into that water, man, and they drowning. You see, it said, From thence shall she be taken. Their arrow shall be as a mighty expert, man. None shall return in vain. And that's the nukes, man. Okay, these nations gonna nuke America, man. This is where everything is building up to. Okay, and you go into, it said, back into the AI overview, it said Rome's expensive borders require massive military resources that ultimately became logistically unstable as the empire grew. Its slow legions struggled to effectively defend vast territories. Okay, so you can't cover that much. You can't cover, you know, defend Europe, defend, all right, West Asia, defend Taiwan. No, you can't. Then you talking about, then we're going into Cuba, man. You can't do all that, man. You see, this devil has been hyped up to think that his military might has no end. Okay, and the Most High is showing how limited this nigga is, man. But pride is going to be the end of Esau, because pride has got this man moving real foolish, man. It says as the empires grew, its slow legions struggled to effectively defend vast territories. Ultimately, the military shifted from conquering to merely securing borders, stretching resources thin and leaving the empire highly vulnerable. Okay? It says the stretched military key factors. The empire expanded across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Man, you can't make that up, man. You see? The same regions of the ancient Rome, okay, was trying to maintain. America trying to do the same thing and is running into the same problem. Okay, how much technology you got, you're limited. Okay? AI, all that, you're limited. And it show you that because if AI, Esau had this super duper, all right, cool for AI, okay, he will be using it now, nigga. You need that now. Showing you that that's limited with the AI. Okay? Because that nigga need that now, today. You see? And it says shifting focus. It says the military objective changed from gaining new lands to defending the lines, fortified borders, and maintaining internal peace, diluting strategic effectiveness, man. Okay? Then you forgot the war. It's in your ICE going to war with the masses, inwardly, man. No, man. It's the same collapse, man. It says feeding, equipping, and paying soldiers whose costs consume upwards of 50 to 75,000, like 50 to 75% of the budget, depleted state treasuries. Okay? Changing demographics, unable to recruit enough Roman citizens, because also in that video with Pepe, he went into how Iran been destroying these military food warehouses for American personnel. And it says unable to recruit enough Roman citizens, which we know recruitment, okay, they catching hell recruiting. They had to lower the standards, and they said, look, you can smoke weed now in the military. You can smoke weed and still be in the American military, man. Okay, it says unable to recruit enough Roman citizens and facing shrinking tax bases. Emperors like Constantine heavily hired foreign mercenaries. These Germanic tribes often lack loyalty to Rome, which further compromise, stability, man. Okay? And the Esau, he has to fight. He's been fighting a lot of, his wars with proxies, So in a lot of times Esau weaponized these proxy groups, and they turn on them. They weaponize them, they train them, and then these proxy groups turn on Esau, man. Certain militant groups and resistant groups that he props up, for a narrative to justify, his agenda. And a lot of these proxies be turning on Esau, man. Okay? So let's see. It's the book of Habakkuk, all right, chapter 2, verse 4. They call hope for 144. It says, behold his own soul which is lifted up, behold his own soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. And his soul is lifted up because he's been able to dominate the world economically and militarily for so long. But in the midst of all of this, man, you have a remnant that's walking in faith, knowing that this nigga gonna fall, man. Knowing that he don't got it. Okay? Verse 5, it says, yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home, who enlarges his desire is hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather it. Okay? They say he never keep it at home. That's why he had American Coast Guard in the South China Sea. Okay? all these bases throughout the world. And he can't defend all them bases, man. So them bases have just been props this whole time. You see? And these nations have you know, they on to the fraud, man. This nigga's not as strong as he project. This nigga's strong. You know, it's a mighty military, but he's nowhere near what he projects, man. Okay? The veil has been you know, the card done been pulled. It says, and heaping unto himself all people. You know? Because the devil has been able to, you know, you look at the American Empire, you know, just like the pagan Roman Empire, man, they've been able to set up puppets, do coups, steal resources, okay, all throughout the earth, man. You see? A lot of these nations is rich in resources, man. Esau has turned these to modern day slave colonies, man, where the locals work, okay, in these factories and these plants, okay, scrapulating these resources, okay, for pennies, while enriching the oligarchs, okay, of the West, man. You know, so this man has a system to where he's heaped all people, you know, a lot of people to himself, man. Okay, it says, "Shall not." There's a brother called Hopeful 144 says, "Shall not these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, saying, Woe to him that increases that which is not his, how long?" All right, and he that laid himself in thick clay, which is debt. You know, because this devil, the major part of this devil's debt is war. You know, but the spirit on these nations now, like, look, man, this is enough is enough. Okay, and that's why when he went into Iran, which was the Lord putting this nigga in a trap, okay, things started to go the other way. You see, now we're starting to see prophecy play out, man. Okay, these nations putting themselves in array. Okay, it says, "Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations, and all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land." All right, the violence of the land of the city, and all that dwell therein, man. You know, so we're seeing these nations gonna rise up and get their lick back on Babylon right before Yahweh Shai comes. You know, the Lord's gonna allow, I say, these nations to get their lick back. Okay, you know, it's gonna be a brief revenge for these nations on Babylon. Okay, and America's going through the same phase, the same process as the fall of Rome. You know, you look at the military being too thin; it's the exact same format. Okay, and it says Ecclesiastes 1:9 in the NLT. This is Brother Service of Yahweh Shah 144. It says, history merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. Okay, so what we're seeing, okay, is these devils, you know, because these devils have the same ambition, the same pride, okay, that they had back in pagan Rome. You see, and as they, you know, became ambitions beyond their power, well, it began to work against them, man. You know, so yeah, we in some beautiful time, you know, and prophecy, you know, has settled, okay, in the earth, man, and prophecy is running this course. You see, so we're watching, you know, from both aspects, you know, from the M.O.T.B and, you know, this third world war. Okay, so we're watching from both aspects because they escalate together. You see, so Lord will, you know, you brothers, all right, and you few sisters edified once again. I'm gonna give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Bakakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutations, hopefully, shalom.